Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum against AEW Dark. This was episode 101. It took place on August 6th, 2021, which was a Friday night, getting us ready perhaps for the idea of their Friday night show, which is starting this week. In any case, it was not a minor throwaway show by any stretch of the imagination. On the contrary, it was 11 matches. But it only clocked in an hour and 11 minutes. So I would imagine a lot of these are squishy squash matches. But we had a couple of, actually a few people who have won Enhancement Talents of the Week that were on this show. So it's definitely worth looking at. Excalibur and Taz welcome us to a Friday edition of AEW Dark. This is back in Jacksonville, Florida. And we got a wrestler crowd here, not the typical live crowds that they've been performing in front of. We open with D3 and Ryzen. Ryzen's an old favorite against the Jurassic Express, in this case Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. And it's a good one, for sure. And they hit their tag finisher on them, which they haven't done in quite some time. So that was good to see. On matches where it's a foregone conclusion, as I love to say, we do a 3 checkmark system, 1 checkmark for the proper entity winning, in this case, Jurassic Express, which they most certainly did, winning in memorable fashion, which they did again as well. And then a 3rd check mark if the losing side either gets a disproportionately high amount of offense or looks good in the process and does their job perfectly. And in this case, both of those I think apply a little bit, so we'll give it 3 check marks. We got Ricky Starks, who's the FTW champion, joining commentary for Chris Statlander with Orange Cassidy against Leila Grey. Leila Grey looks great here. Really good, outstanding performance by Grey. She may win our Performer of the Week here. I really liked... she took some huge moves. That move where she was on the shoulders into a facebuster, the deadlift German suplex looked good, and the Big Bang Theory, of course. Really, Grey went out of her way to make sure that Statlander looked good, and all the offense looked really, really great here. So 3 check marks, great job by Leila Grey. Starks is off of commentary, and it's back to Excalibur and Taz. Somebody asked why I point these things out. I just think it's noteworthy, and I think it's interesting to see who they're giving commentary time to and how much they're giving. Jake St. Patrick and Sage Scott against the Lucha Brothers. You can predict how this one went. St. Patrick and Sage Scott did fine. At the end of the day, anytime you're in there with the Lucha Brothers in a kind of a squash match, it's about them really showing out, and they most certainly did. So St. Patrick in particular, I thought, did a really good job here of making sure the Lucha Brothers stuff looked really good and didn't have any botchy moments in this match at all. Lucha Brothers win, 3 check marks, moving on. Mark Henry is in a lobby with a Big Swole and Diamante. We see highlights of their feud. Swole talks about the gripe she has with Diamante. She says she's going on this thing of, you ruin my money, you mess with my money by ruining my winning streak. Diamante says, I don't know why we're here, I already beat Swole. Swole says he cheated. Diamante says winning is winning. Diamante throws her hat at Swole. Henry gets between them. Okay. Julia Hart with the varsity Blondes at ringside against Angelica Risk. Risk does a good job here. It's about making Julia Hart look good. Julia Hart looks every bit the star. A flipping lariat looks good. Running back elbow, and then a bulldog into the split for the win. 3 check marks. We might have a 3 check mark night for Dark, which we haven't had in quite some time, honestly, because I expect this match to go well. It's Ethan Page against Baron Black. Baron Black is one of my favorites. Always a contender for Enhancement Talent of the Week when he is on a show. This is no exception. He and Ethan Page really go at it for a little while. So he gets a disproportionately large amount of offense, but of course the ego's edge happens. Ethan Page wins, 3 check marks. QT Marshall is now on commentary take Stark's place because his two members of his factory, Aaron Solo and Nick Komoroto, are taking on the Gun Club, in this case Billy and Colton, which has been the most common team for the Gun Club as of late. This is the closest to a competitive match that we get. In fact, I'll call it a competitive match. We get blind tags, we get all kinds of things, we get guys taking heat for quite a while. And I find it really interesting that Billy Gunn gets the win and does it with a handful of tights. That's an interesting take. QT obviously went crazy. Did both teams look good in competitive matches? We do it at a slightly different standard. Do both teams look good here? Absolutely. Did one team get put over in memorable fashion? Yes. And then was something advanced? I would say yes. I don't think this thing with the factory and the Gun Club in particular, but the Nightmare Factory in general, is over by any stretch of the imagination. One thing I thought was that the factory doesn't have a female contingent, which might be a bit of a problem since the Nightmare Factory continues to add people to their group like Kylan King. So maybe another turncoat to join the factory, a female, would be in order. So now we're just back to Excalibur and Taz on commentary. Frankie Kazarian against Peter Avalon. I'll generously call this competitive since Peter Avalon leads his particular clique here. And they do get involved with distractions and that kind of thing to make it look like it's possible that Avalon could take on the elite hunter Frankie Kazarian. Frankie eventually catches him in a crossface chicken wing, taps out Avalon. How was this match, since we're calling it competitive? Did both people look good? I'd say yes. Both entities anyway, because the people at ringside definitely factored in a great deal, who were Cesar Bononi and JD Drake. Do they get a second check mark for win in definitive fashion? Yeah, Kazarian's really putting over that chicken wing crossface. And then a third check mark if something feels like it's advanced. Yes, in the sense that I think there's two aspects to it. Frankie Kazarian's very subtle and smart worker, and he is modifying his in-ring style to take on a more direct approach and a more brutal approach, and I think that definitely comes across. And they're putting Frankie Kazarian over, and I really like this as a babyface. As somebody who's very smart and very cagey, it's nice to see a smart babyface instead of a stupid one. So 3 check marks. Aaron Fry, Darian Bengston, forgive me if I say a name wrong, and Very Morales, who I'm a big fan of Very, against the Seidel brothers, that's Matt and Mike, and Dante Martin. Team, watch what we can do. So that's what I'm going to call them anyway. This match isn't very long, but it's packed full of good stuff. Morales really takes the lion's share of the interesting moves here from the opposing team. Morales and Fry eat kicks and the moonsault from Martin, and then Martin hits a flipping stunner, and the Seidel brothers create a double lightning spiral for the win. Really good stuff here. Very Morales and Aaron Fry in particular, I think, have a lot to be proud of in this one. The Seidel brothers and Dante Martin win 3 check marks. And you know what? It looks like we might have a 3 check mark night all night long. Jake the Snake Roberts joins commentary, which you know means Lance Archer, who is the IWGP US champion, against poor Trey Lamar. Archer, who's now a subtle babyface, so he raises the title, and but then goes to attack Lamar right away, but at least he doesn't drag him out of the back. Archer just straight ahead stomps, elbow strikes, pouncing him. Short arm clothesline, which I think is a neat homage. Lamar gets a boot up, goes to the second rope, but it's a great excuse to get caught in the blackout for the win. 3 check marks. Abaddon against Kelsey Heather. We've been seeing a lot of Kelsey Heather lately, and I can see why. She's really good. She does a good job setting up the I'm scared of Abaddon. And Abaddon goes with that new finisher she's been using as of late. It's much better look than the stupid Widow's Peak. I really like it. It's looking better. It feels like they're going to get Abaddon back in the mix a little bit. We shall see. 3 check marks, and we're moving on. And then finally, our de facto main event. Orange Cassidy against Jorah Jal. I will not call this a competitive match, even though Jorah Jal is he's kind of the bag carrier for the Hardy family. Though Orange does give him a disproportionately large amount of offense, as you will tend to get against Orange Cassidy. Wins with that orange punch. It looks good. Private Party look to jump him, but Yuta and Chuck are there to even the odds, and then the best friends do their big hug to close it out. 3 check marks, so that gives us 3 check marks all night long.